One of the questions we get asked the very most is, do you have a therapist you can recommend for me? And while we wish that we knew of therapists in every single place, in every single part of the country, we don't. So what do we tell them instead, Mel?
We say check out BetterHelp because it's online, it's at a reasonable price, and you can be matched with a therapist within 24 hours. I've also used them and they have been great. And if you don't like your therapist, guess what? Click, and get a new one.
Absolutely. It's so hard when you have an in-person therapist, if you're not clicking with them, to cut them off and get a new one. So that's not an issue with BetterHelp. So we always tell people to try BetterHelp. And if you use our promo code, which is
trybetterhelp.com/WWDN,
you get 10% off your first month.
Go ahead and try it out. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. And you know what? I'm a big fan of doing therapy where you don't have to wear pants, but nobody knows about it.
Are you wearing pants right now, Mel?
I'll see you later. Bye. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN.
Okay, Mel, the time has come.
I don't even know what's happening, and you have researched, right?
Yes. Yes. Today is the very special day where we are going to have a crossover of content episode.
Okay.
It's your two favorite things in the whole wide world. Widows
And dogs.
and true crime.
There we go.
Okay. Two of your favorite things in the whole wide world.
You also are interested in true crime, eh?
Yeah, but it's not like my favorite thing in the whole wide world.
Can we also have a discussion on people and why they like true crime? Because I just want to say, ever since I was a wee child of 10,
A wee
and,
babe.
and Unsolved Mysteries was a thing on the TV, that's when I started watching stuff. And it never was to watch gore or to learn about that stuff. I think for me, it's mostly about why these things happen, and also to be like, what is going on? I didn't know that this happened. So you hear people kind of dogging now that true crime is like a genre since podcast started. That's kind of where it started becoming super popular. You have varying opinions from others on the genre. So
Yeah. And I can totally see where they're coming from because I think that there are different varieties of true crime. There's definitely ones where you feel a little bit icky about it because it's either glorifying or it's sensationalizing or it's not very victim focused, you
yeah,
know? And then there are some that are like trying to solve crimes and they actually do a good job. So I actually think that the line is tricky to get it right.
yeah, I agree. And I think back at Unsolved Mysteries and what's the show that John Walsh did?
Oh,
America's Most Wanted.
Yeah.
They both were shows that were like, do you have information on that? So they were unsolved things, of course. But yeah, there's a lot of good, bad, and even
Yeah.
more bad stuff in the world about true crime. But I think there is good value in understanding human nature. And also, if these stories can be told with the victims in mind, we know how it
Yeah.
is to have somebody close to us be dead. And I'm sure a lot of us have heard some hearsay or other things like that about various aspects of that. And and you and your story and my story both do not involve murder.
Right.
But I heard some crazy things that were not true about certain things, just about what
Yeah.
was going on in my life. And I remember thinking, wow, okay, ask me. But so we're going to hopefully do a good job.
Yeah, we certainly have friends. And don't worry, guys, if you're like, you guys are a widow podcast, what are you doing? This is just a today thing. And you will understand at some point in time why we've chosen to talk about this story and why I had to do a deep dive at some point in time. You'll understand that. And we definitely have had friends who, one, their person has died by violence or in a way that required law enforcement to become involved. And so we know that that can be a sensitive thing. And then we also, on the flip side, know people who have either been suspects or who have had people looking at them like they had something to do with it or have been arrested. And that is a special kind of awful. So if that sounds too intense for you and you don't want to go down this road, come back next week. It'll be totally fine.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine. Anita has done some well-read research.
The case that we're going to talk about today is about a woman named Kouri Richins and her husband, Eric Richins. And like I said before, it's going to become apparent at some point in time why this story was of particular interest to Mel and I. Now, you might have heard of that name and it sounds familiar because this story got a lot of attention because Kouri wrote a children's book about grief after her husband died, and very shortly thereafter was arrested for his murder. So
There we go.
I don't think anybody would have known about this story too much had the book not been written. So let's get into it, shall we?
I have to ask before we start these things, is the case over? Has it been determined?
No.
Are all of the things in your research investigated by other people and from newspaper? Like, where did you get the stuff?
I did not knock on anybody's doors and do any sort of questioning. No, all of this is from the public, like the court records, the affidavits, even like I think 48 Hours did an episode. So it's all publicly reported information and information that's from like court dockets and things like that. So yeah, it's just been kind of gathered together. And like Mel said, this case is not finished. And so, of course, in our judicial system, people are innocent until proven guilty. And quite honestly, even after knowing all of this, I don't know. It's like, it's very interesting to me to read this information and to see it through the lens of going through being widowed at a young age in a sudden fashion, and some of the things that people have pointed to and say, oh, clear guilt. I'm like, I don't know. I might have done that. So it is interesting to have a different lens on it.
I'm really curious because, as we know, I've been part of a trial recently, and so my lens is a little bit different than it may have been before too, just knowing how it is to be on a victim or witness side of a trial, and to watch how defense attorneys and prosecutors and judges manage all of the people that are in a trial. So I'm curious. Okay, Nita.
Here we go. So Kouri and Eric met at the Home Depot, as one does. Kouri was a cashier. Eric was a contractor. So he came into the Home Depot, and you actually know where this Home Depot is, Mel. He worked in construction and was in the Home Depot a lot, thought she was cute, finally asked her out.
Anita,
yes.
Was it the Home Depot where remember when you had your wallet stolen at a race?
No.
Is it the same one that you spent your card at?
No, darn it. This is the one up by Park City. So
okay. I do know that.
So they meet, they fall in love, they get pregnant with their first son, and then they get married. Well, Eric had been married previously, and it had ended in divorce. And I'm assuming it wasn't a pleasant experience for him. And so he had Kouri sign a prenup. And in the prenup, it stated that if he and she were to divorce, she would not be entitled to any of his business assets, which makes sense, right? He had that before they met. And so she signed that. However, if he were to die while they were still legally married, then she is entitled to his business assets. He had 50% in a pretty successful company and some of like the physical assets. So they go along their married life. They have 2 more sons, so they have 3 sons. At some point in time, Kouri starts a real estate business in Camas, Utah. So, fun fact, Camas is like 40 minutes away from where we live. It is a tiny city. You can't even call it a city. It's got like a population of maybe 2,000. It's mostly ranches and farms. It's got a couple of like cute cafes. They have a demolition derby and still have a rodeo. It's still pretty like Americana.
Isn't this where you and your family go a couple times a year?
Yes. In fact, I just drove through Camas. So you go through Camas to get to the Uinta Mountains and to a family friend's cabin. So yes, I have drive through Camas a few times a year. And fun fact, Mel, did you know that in like, what was it, 1988, there's an unincorporated area just outside of Camas where a church was bombed?
What?
Yeah, in the aftermath of one of those like fun standoffs between police and a religious fundamentalist.
When was that?
1988.
I was 6.
Yeah, I need to tell
Were
you about
you
that
up
story
there
too.
when it happened?
No, but we did spend a lot of time up there when I was a kid too. So kind of funny. Anyway, Camas is this small community, but it's also situated pretty close to Park City. And if you know anything about Utah, Park City is where all the rich hoity-toity people live. It's where the expensive ski resorts are. It's where Sundance used to be held. It's expensive there, which I think is maybe why his business did pretty well. He had a custom like stonemasonry business, so he was probably doing like high-end custom jobs in that like Park City Midway area. And Kouri, her real estate business was specialized in flipping homes, um, which is actually my nightmare. I would not like to do this. Like some people kind of thrive in that environment, but it just sounds like such a headache and a nightmare to me.
Me
You
too.
need, yeah, you need like tons of money up front, and then you have to float a loan to fix it all up, and then you're trying to stay on budget and on schedule. You're just hoping that you can sell it for a profit, right? So one house at a time would be crazy, but apparently she would have like between 2 and 3 houses going at all times, just in constant movement, which, like I said, yuck. And if I was in charge of that, I would be bankrupt like 10 times because I couldn't keep track of what I was supposed to be doing when,
No.
barf. So at some point in time, Kouri used her power of attorney to open a home equity line of credit on the house that Eric owned before they were married. And reportedly, she did this without his knowledge or his permission. And it was $250,000 that she borrowed. And supposedly for the business, because she needs a lot of money to keep these houses getting flipped. Yeah.
Okay.
So supposedly she also took out lots of money from his business accounts and from business credit cards without his knowledge, like $130,000. And that comes from Eric's family saying that. I'm not sure what kind of like evidence they have that she did that. But everybody says that at some point in time, Eric finds out about this and Eric is not happy, which you can imagine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they got in a big fight about it, and she promised him that she would pay the home equity line of credit off, and she told him that she had done that. But narrator's voice, she never did. It was still open when he died.
I wish that was Keith Morrison's voice from Dateline. Can you replicate that?
No, I can't. So it turns out that Money and her were not on the best of terms. But in the aftermath of his death, lots of other stuff came out that she was doing that was not great with Money. And I'll just tell you what it was now. Number one, she was using forged documents to open like mortgages and different loans. So she would turn in paperwork to a lender that said, for instance, I have $750,000 in my checking account. But in actuality, her checking account had $250,000, but she had doctored papers. And so the people were like, yes, we'll give you a loan for that. And her credit was super bad. And the lenders would call her on it and she'd say, oh, somebody in Spain stole my identity, or had excuses for why her credit was low. But her credit was low because she kept defaulting on loans.
So was this, since the trial's not over,
Mm-hmm.
How is this public information?
So this is contained within the charging documents from the state.
Okay.
So they have like very specifically listed out, and it goes through like each instance, like this paper was turned into this lender and it said that she had this much money and this is the actual money in her account on that day.
Wow.
And it's like it happened several times.
And you found the charging documents?
Yes, I
They're
did.
publicly available?
Yeah,
What?
totally. Yeah, and you can even find somebody who will read them to you, which is what I did.
Did they
It was,
use a fun voice?
no, it was
Speaking of
probably like
Keith
an AI
Morrison.
voice. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
The other thing she did was she was writing bad checks. And I don't mean like, oops, I went to the grocery store and spent $50 when I only had 30. She was, for instance, writing a check for $5,000 from one bank account and cashing it at a different bank account when the first bank account had no money in it. But she would take that cash from the second bank and leave with it before the first bank could say, hey, hello, you don't actually have any money in your account. So she did that several times and was trying to like, I don't know what she was doing, paying off different things. She gave some of it to her mom. And again, each of these, like every single time this happened is listed in the charging documents. And these charges came after the murder charge came. And then she also did some sort of mortgage fraud that I was very confused about with her friend. She borrowed money and said she was going to use it to buy a house, like a rent-to-own house for her friend, and then didn't. That I'm not really clear on. But there was some shenanigans with the
Alleged
money.
shenanigans.
Alleged shenanigans. Yes. So they continue on. They're doing their thing. They're having their business. In October of 2020, Eric consults a divorce lawyer. And at this time, he also changes all of his assets to go into a living will and trust. And in that living will and trust, his sister, and not Kouri, is named to the trustee position. And I find it interesting that it's both a financial trustee and a healthcare proxy. So Kouri wasn't named as either of those things. Now, it did say in his trust that his money and assets were to be used for the care of his wife and his 3 children. So he wasn't like cutting her off completely, but he was putting somebody else in charge of that money, which is pretty interesting. Some reports say, though, that the reason this happened is because he was having an affair and that they were going to get divorced, but ended up working it out. And other people say that this was around the same time that he discovered that she had taken out that home equity line of credit. And so wanted to, like, was mad and did it in a punitive, like, you're not going to have my money kind of a way. So don't know about that, but they didn't get divorced. They ended up together. So fast forward 2 years. In January of 2022, allegedly, somebody logged on to the online system for one of Eric's life insurance policies. He had a $2 million life insurance policy that his business partner had taken out on him to protect the business. And somebody logged in and changed the beneficiary to Kouri. Well, the life insurance policy saw the change, and I'm kind of surprised about this, called Eric and said, hey, did you mean for this change to happen? And he said, nope.
Wow.
And so they changed it back to the business partner, I believe.
I think that's really good that they did that.
I know.
Thank you, life insurance policy.
Yes. Yes. So change that back. And then Kouri also in that time opened another life insurance policy. And the state alleges that she forged his signature to get that life insurance policy. So between 2015 and 2017, she opened 4 life insurance policies on him. And then in 2022, she opened one more. Now, the one she opened in 2022, or allegedly, she says that he did it, was $100,000, which like is not that much.
It's not $2 million.
Yeah. So, but I think the total of them without the $2 million business partner was still like $2 million. So I don't know. It's kind of also funny as a widow to think like, oh, well, that's still not that much.
Here's my question, Anita.
Hmm.
Since you're a researcher on this, how was she able to allegedly open up all these life insurance policies without his consent?
Well, I think the first ones, she might have had his consent because they don't say anything about the first four, just like, well, that's kind of a lot. But then the last one, the signature on the application page doesn't match his signature. So that's why they say that she like forged his signature to get that life insurance policy. And I'm guessing since it's a low amount, it's probably one of those like you don't have to do a physical, like the ones you just get in the mail that are super random. I also think it's really interesting that he was able to put all of his assets in a trust without her permission, which makes me think that he had to have owned the house outright. Like she was not on the title. Otherwise, she would have had to have agreed to it. But since he owned the house before he was married,
Mm.
I guess maybe he just owned the house and it wasn't hers.
And they lived in that same house?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Allegedly. Everything's allegedly.
Allegedly, yes.
Until the trial's over and the appeals period is over, we're being alleged.
Yes.
Okay.
So in February on Valentine's Day, so remember, life insurance policy, the shenanigans of the life insurance policy, the alleged shenanigans took place in January. In February, on Valentine's Day, Kouri gave Eric a sandwich and she wrote a little love note and then he ate it. He ate like 2 or 3 bites and got very, very, very sick. Okay. And broke out in hives and used his son's EpiPen. So just keep that information. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Okay. So now it's March of 2022. And Kouri is super excited because she has gotten the chance to buy a mansion to flip.
Ooh.
And yes, this mansion is in a very swanky area called Midway. And it is 20,000 square feet and has a guest home, in parentheses, of 4,000 square feet.
Okay.
Okay, but here's the catch. The house, I think it was started to be built in like 2017, but then in 2019 or 2020, for whatever reason, the builder ran out of money and they stopped and they left it abandoned. So it had been sitting for 2 to 3 years in the elements in the Park City snow.
Oof.
It just was like plywood and a roof. So there are different opinions about whether that's a good investment or a money pit, but she was super excited about it. She bought it for $3.9 million, I believe. And it's reported that she thought she would be able to flip it and earn $12 million if she kept it on budget and on schedule. So she says that evening when she got the news that she was going to be able to buy this house, that they were going to celebrate. And so she made him a drink, a Moscow Mule. However, there's also talk of a lemon drop. And I am a little bit confused about what actually got served. And I think those are two very different drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly, I'm not a drinker, so I don't know.
Allegedly. Until after the trial and the appeals period.
Yes, and then we'll see. So she says she prepares them some drinks, although the story has changed as to who prepared it and what the drink was. And they had the drinks in their bedroom, and then he was going to go to bed, and one of her kids needed some help going to sleep, which was a pretty common occurrence. So she plugged her phone in, she says, into the bedroom and went to lay down with the child. And she fell asleep in there and didn't come back until about 3 a.m. And this is where things get a little sensitive as far as graphicness. And I know that a lot of you have had the same experience. So if you don't want to listen to this part, don't. She went into the bedroom and she found him unresponsive and cold. So she called 911, and the 911 operator told her that she needed to do CPR. So when the paramedics showed up, they found him at the foot of the bed, which I think is interesting. And the paramedics noted that they did not think that somebody had done CPR on him, even though she said that she had. And the reason that they said that is when they started doing CPR, he had a lot of blood that came out of his mouth. And if she had done CPR, the blood would have been on her or been disturbed in some way, and it wasn't. So they kind of noted that. And the other thing that I think is interesting is this is like so morbid. But if you, and I know some of our listeners have had to do this, have to drag somebody out of the bed to do CPR, do you drag them towards the foot or do you drag them off the side?
Scott had to be moved off a bed to have CPR done.
Yeah.
But he was moved to the side.
If I were doing it, I wouldn't drag them off the end because then you have to move their whole body, the whole length of the bed, as opposed to, but again, and I am so sorry. I have friends who I know have had to do this, and it was very traumatic for them to try and move their loved one off of the bed. So
I have a question, medical professional.
mm-hmm.
If somebody is unresponsive and cold, is there any way that CPR would even do anything? Because aren't you dead if you're cold?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, unless there is a saying when people have like hypothermia that you're not dead until you're warm and dead, because if people are in an environment where it's cold, that you can like still be revived for a long time. But if you're cold because it's been long enough that you haven't had a heartbeat, then no, I don't think so.
Like
and
you're in
also,
your house bedroom.
Yeah. And also that takes, I think, kind of a long time to become cold. So I know from my own experience when I got to the hospital with Jason, he was still warm and it had been at least an hour to 2 hours since he died. So anyway, also very interesting. After all of this went down, the state presented information from her phone, which you guys, phones are like the one reason why you can't get away with murder anymore. Couple funny things with the phone. Number one, is that it was unlocked 6 times in the 15 minutes before she called 911, and that she had walked around in the house for like 900 feet before calling 911. And the other one is that she had called her mom twice before calling 911. Now, I could see like if she got into the bedroom before she laid down, that she was like looking at her phone. But also like 3 a.m. is kind of a weird time to be scrolling or to be calling your mom, right?
I don't think I would call anybody at 3 a.m. ever.
Unless there was an emergency.
And then I would maybe hope to call 911.
First. Yeah. Okay. So just put that in there. I also forgot to say that she said that before he went to bed that he had taken a THC gummy, and that was something that he did pretty regularly. Okay. So he dies. They take him away. Funnily enough, I find this so interesting. The EMTs told her that he might have died of an aneurysm, which the paramedics or the police officer said the same thing to me. And I'm like, why are we guessing about that?
They said that to you?
Yes, they were like, it was the funniest conversation because the police officer is like, now there's a thing called a Berry aneurysm, and I'm not a doctor. And I said, but I am.
Good. Did he stop?
Funny. He did pause for a second, and I was like, it wasn't that, because I knew, like, it all fit together when it happened.
You're like, I'm a doctor and I work at this here hospital that you're telling me my husband has died at. Please step aside.
But that police officer was Jason's resource officer at his school.
Oh.
So he knew Jason. So it was like, terrible for him too.
Man.
Okay. So he has died. Now we get into widow territory where we're going to judge what she does, right? Turns out that she hadn't actually closed on the mansion yet, that she had just been told that she was going to close on the mansion. So the day after he died, she went and signed all the documents to buy the mansion, which I have mixed feelings about because there's a part of me that's like, could you go sign documents the day after Scott died? Like, would your brain have worked well enough to do that?
I'll tell you what I was doing the day after Scott died. I was in my bed and I didn't even know if I had legs or not
Mm-hmm.
because I
Yeah.
couldn't walk or eat or breathe. No. For me,
Yeah.
no. Not in my experience. What about you?
I mean, I'm like, there's a piece of me that's also like, well, we zombie did a lot of things that we couldn't do either. Like, went to the funeral home, picked out a casket. There's just a lot of things that you just like muster up the strength and the courage to do. And I do feel like sometimes there's like a defiant part of a widow where it's like, this is not going to ruin me. Like, he would have wanted this. And so maybe you could power through, but it is kind of, I don't know. I would also be so unwilling to put myself in $3.9 million of debt when my husband just died. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how we're going to survive. I don't know any of this. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing too.
Yeah. And how many kids did they have?
3.
3. Okay. I had none kids. And those thoughts the day after were, I don't want to plan a funeral. What is happening? And also the concept of time was totally gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also like, what am I going to do to survive this? Do I need to pay for a funeral? What do I need to pay for this and that? And there's no way for me that anything outside of whatever was immediate would have
Right.
been
Like what you
important.
had to do.
Yeah. I did have people call and cancel things that I did have to do. And
Yeah.
that's where
But
I
maybe
was.
maybe there's something about it that we don't know. Like maybe she had to do this or she would face some sort of penalty for not like they had some sort of contract and if she backed out. I don't know. But
Who knows?
okay. So that was day 1 after he died. Day 2 after he died, she hired a locksmith. And the locksmith was in her house and was drilling into a safe that they had in the house because the family thought that there was between 130 and $160,000 in cash in the safe. So, sister shows up and says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, madam, you actually don't own this safe. It's property of his trust, and you need to stop." So, what happens then, Mel? What do you predict happens?
A fight.
Fists fly. Yes.
An actual fist
An
fight?
actual fist fight. Yes.
Fisticuffs.
Fisticuffs. Allegedly. Actually, we don't have to say allegedly about this one.
What about brass knuckles?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. So Kouri was actually, I don't know if she was arrested, but she was charged with misdemeanor assault. And she went to court and she pled no contest. And the judge said, I understand there are extenuating circumstances. You pay this fine. You go to counseling. Your record is held in abeyance and your record is expunged. Yes,
Anita,
Mel.
explain to the people what no contest means. It's not saying that they agree they're guilty, correct?
I don't actually know.
I know this.
Okay.
No contest is a way to avoid going to trial and have further things happen. And you plead no contest and you're basically saying that you don't agree that you did it, but you're going to say that so that it ends.
Yeah, I just feel like I give up. I don't want to do this. So we need Keith Morrison's narrator voice again. Did she pay the fine?
Here's where it is. Okay. Here's what it is according to the dictionary.
Okay.
I wish that I had Keith Morrison's voice. No contest is a plea by which a defendant in a criminal prosecution accepts conviction, but does not plead or admit guilt.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Which I can totally understand. Like, I would be just like, I don't care, like, screw that. But she didn't pay the fine and she didn't do counseling. And so she was convicted of a misdemeanor assault. So we don't have to say allegedly because she was convicted of that because she didn't do the thing she needed to do. And again, people are like, oh, that just proves that she's guilty. But I'm not sure about that. Like, can you imagine finding out in those circumstances that your husband had taken all your assets and you didn't have them and everything you thought, like, and you're just emotional from what's happened? Like, I don't know. I think it's weird, but I also don't think it's a smoking gun, so to speak.
Hey guys, just checking in and want to say if you are enjoying this podcast,
And you want to see it keep going, maybe it's helped you through your widowhood journey and you think that it might help others on their widowhood journey, you can support that cause by joining our Patreon.
some of the things that you get as a Patreon beneficiary are ad-free episodes, so you don't have to hear ads like this.
You also get exclusive content, and at a certain level, you might also get an exclusive t-shirt you can only get that place.
That is true. It's pretty cool. There are 4 different tiers available, so check it out. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
And as an extra bonus, very often you get your names read by one of my kids, and they will do a terrible job with the pronunciation. And that's like a bonus, I think.
I think it's kind of the best. I would much rather hear somebody butcher my name than say it correctly.
A child butcher it than an adult do it correctly. Yep. So go to patreon.com/WWDN to keep our podcast going and support the widowed cause.
Yes! Thanks, guys! Back to our regularly scheduled program. There's a Lori Daybell story in here somewhere, too, about that. For those who know that story, because that was the same, the beneficiaries got changed without her knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And then, husband gets killed. And she calls and is like, wait, where's the money? And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, I might go bananas too. I don't know. I think a lot of us would do things that we didn't. And the counseling and the paying the fine, I could see myself forgetting in that 2-day period after, or whatever it is, few weeks after, and just being like, I just can't, I can't deal with this.
And how long after the Eric died did this happen?
2 days.
2 days. Okay.
Yeah. Which again, to have the wherewithal to call a locksmith and to hire them to come get into your safe 2 days after. Now we know people have to do this, but it's usually not 2 days after, I feel like.
Is there a chance also that the papers for the trust could have been in the safe, and that's another reason why she wanted to open it?
I don't know.
I know nothing, so I'm just asking questions.
I don't know. I don't know the answer. I guess I don't know for sure why she was trying to get into the safe, but the Eric's family said that it's because there was money in there and she was trying to get to the money. She also had an architect apparently draw up plans for the new house in the first few days. So they could get started working on it, I guess, or whatever. So remember, when he died, we didn't know why he died, just like all of us. You just don't know what's going on. But when he died, he had 6 life insurance policies. She had taken out 4 of them. And at the time, the day before he died, she owed about $1.2 million. And she owed a bunch of taxes that she hadn't paid. The day after he died, she owed about $5 million because that's how much she was in debt.
Oh.
And the type of debt she had was low quality debt. She was paying huge amounts of interest. There was one article that said that she would expect to pay $300,000 of interest per week. Because she had defaulted and had to renegotiate the terms so many times that they were just super high, aggressive interest.
Oh, gosh.
So, not great.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't know how long it took, but the autopsy report came back and it showed that he had died of fentanyl poisoning. And the amount that he had died from was 5 times the lethal dose, which is not super consistent with an accidental overdose. When you hear about somebody who took something that was laced with fentanyl, it's usually just enough over the lethal limit to kill you. It's not going to be 5 times as much, right? And there were no bottles of pills or any evidence of things that he had taken. The fentanyl was also in his stomach, so he had eaten it, and it was not medical grade. It was illicit fentanyl. Also of note, Kouri said, well, of course, he must have taken that THC gummy and it must have been laced with fentanyl, and that's what killed him. However, he did not have THC in his system.
He had a fentanyl gummy.
Yeah, well, we don't know.
Yikes.
He also had the remnants of one of her prescription drugs in his system. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a sedative that she had been prescribed. He had not. So a few days after the autopsy results came back, in the aftermath and in all the investigation, they got a hold of Kouri's phone, and there were a few very interesting searches on her phone. Some of them included, can cops force you to do a lie detector test? Quote, luxury prisons for the rich in America. If someone is poisoned, what does it go down on the death certificate as? How do you permanently delete information from an iPhone remotely? Utah Women's Correctional Facilities. And how do you know if you're under investigation from the FBI? So this is before she's been charged, or she should have any indication that people think it's anything other than an accidental overdose. So, again, interesting.
Okay.
At this point in time, also, the friends and family of Eric are saying, wait, like, he has said some things that have indicated to us that you should be looking at Kouri. So let's rewind to the sandwich from February. Okay. They said, hey, there was this incident in February, and Eric told me that he thought his wife was trying to poison him. So there was actually another incident that happened a few years ago in Greece where she gave him a drink. He got super sick, but they all said, oh, it was an accident. He was on some medicine that you can't take, that you can't have with alcohol, and accidentally had alcohol, got sick. Okay, fine. Well, the sandwich that he had eaten that made him really sick, she was not at home, but she told everybody it was not that big of a deal. He didn't use the EpiPen. He didn't have hives. I was home the whole time with him. However, she was not, because they were text messaging each other. He text messaged her a photo of what the hives look like, but they had been deleted from both phones before they were able to be examined. And she said to him in one of the text messages, is it that bad if it's, I'm waiting. This is not verbatim. I'm waiting for my cabinet guy at a house in Provo. If I need to come home, let me know. Okay. We need the narrator's voice again.
My.
Yes. I love it so much. She was not waiting for the cabinet guy in the house in Provo. I feel like this is just on time. Like, it's so timely. She was meeting up with the man she was having an affair with.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Yes. I'm just like, you can't. You guys, it just keeps getting worse for her. So this guy she was having an affair with, I believe, was a handyman who she used for some of her different jobs. And they were having an affair. And also, after they broke up, he was homeless and living in a truck. But
okay.
That's fine. So they're having an affair since November of 2021. And again, they look at her text messages on her phone, and some of them are not great for her. So, for instance, she said things like, it would just be better if Eric were gone. And they were all timed terribly, too. Like, that one was right before the sandwich. And then she also said, life is going to be different. I promise, hang in there until Friday, which is the day that he died.
Okay.
Not great.
That's
right?
Not great timing.
Not great timing.
If you want to prove you're innocent. Anita, I hear we have a store.
Oh, we sure do. We've actually had it for quite a while. It's called the Snarky Grief Shop, and it's where you will find all of our best grief merch. That is, yes, a little snarky. For instance, it's where you will find the official widow card that you can pull and use at your convenience.
You can put it in your wallet, and anytime you need to use it, pull it out, play the widow card.
Yeah, we have glow in the dark stickers. We have shirts that say, "Be nice, my husband is dead." We also have the ones that are not quite as jarring, so that you can wear them out in public and not feel weird. But sometimes you need that shirt.
I wear my "Be nice, my husband is dead" to bed because I'm a little scared to go in public with it. But you've worn it on airplanes before with your kids.
Yeah, every time we go to the airport, I wear that shirt because I'm just like, listen, I got to get all these kids through security. Just be nice to me. Thank you so much. And it's worked for the most part.
Some of the less snarky grief shirts are podcast shirts or Widow Wives Club. We also have Resilient AF, right, Anita? What else we got in there?
Yeah, which we're telling everybody who cares, like Mel's mom, that means American fork, because she can't know what it really means, guys.
Yeah.
Stickers and mugs and notebooks and just cool stuff that you can use to express your snarky grief. You'll find it by going to our website, shop.widowwedonow.com. There's a lot of W's in there, so just make sure that you've counted them and there's the right number.
We will link to that in the show notes, and it's also in our app, which you can get from the App Store. Can people get it from our regular website too?
Yes, if you go to widowwedonow.com, there's a link for the shop in there too.
Great. If you'd like to show your snark or have something a little more subtle, go ahead and check that out. Again, that's
shop.widowwedonow.com. All of it. There's a lot of it. Okay, so in the investigation, the police talked to two people who say that they have sold, well, one of them has sold Kouri fentanyl, but she has approached both of them to buy fentanyl. The one is a housekeeper that she has used for her different houses. And the housekeeper said that she sold her or got her in contact with somebody to sell her fentanyl on 3 different occasions. One right before Valentine's Day, one right before Eric died, and then actually, strangely, right after Eric died. Now, the defense is like, hey, this lady has a drug history. She's on probation. She's going to tell you whatever you want to hear so that she doesn't get in trouble and somebody else gets in trouble. And this is one of those he said, she said situations, because I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen the evidence from the state, but there doesn't appear to be any physical evidence of buying the fentanyl. But Kouri did write her a check for $12,000.
Oh, okay. That's a paper trail.
No, there's 2 funny things about that. Funny, not funny. One is she said, well, that was her paycheck. And I'm like, whoa, that's kind of a lot for cleaning houses. And 2, she had to write her a check because she didn't have any money. So she was probably fraudulently writing her a check.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then, because this story can't get any weirder, but it can, Mel, it's going to get weirder.
Okay, I'm ready.
The house cleaner and Kouri have text messaged each other a lot in the time period where the housekeeper says that she sold her fentanyl. However, all the text messages have been deleted. So they can't see what they were talking about, but they were talking a lot.
But can't they retrieve those?
Apparently not.
How could they retrieve some of the others, but not those?
I don't know.
Was it a burner phone?
She did have those, they said.
Okay.
But remember how she Googled, how can I delete stuff? Maybe she figured it out. I don't know. So there was also another man who she text messaged something like, hey, I need to ask you a question, but I'll ask you tomorrow in person. And then he said that she asked him if he could get a hold of fentanyl. That guy, though, died in a motorcycle accident, so he can't testify.
Okay.
I'm like, what? You got to be kidding me. All right. It's about a year after Eric has died, and Kouri decides that her kids need something because, like, their dad died. So she decides she wants to write a book, a grief book for them. She didn't write a kid's grief book. She got a ghostwriter to write the kid's grief book. And she got it all made and published. And then she went on Good Things Utah, which is a local...
We've been on that show.
I know.
That's funny.
It is funny. And I listened to the interview and it was a little bit painful to listen to because she kept saying every other word was, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah, blah,
I do know how
you
that
know.
is. I edit all that stuff out. It's painful.
Yes, it was very painful. The book got terrible reviews, like really caustic reviews on Amazon, but I kind of think that people were reviewing it after the charges came out.
Oh,
But they were like, oh, it's very like stalkerish and not comforting. So I found it and I read it.
no way.
Yes, way.
How did you
And
find it? I thought they took it off of
the
the
internet has all the
it's
things.
okay.
Yeah, I found it. I did not think it was terrible. I thought it was a perfectly reasonable book. It was one of the kids asking dad if he was there for different big life events. Are you there when I score a soccer goal? Are you there for my first day of school? Are you there for Christmas? Things like that. And then the second half is dad replying, yes, I'm there for all of the different occasions. The pictures, they were a little weird, but that's okay. And there were some grammatical errors, which just pained me because she paid somebody to ghostwrite it. So I feel like they should get that right.
Well, you never know who you find on Fiverr
That's true.
and if they spell
It
check.
probably was.
So,
Well, yeah, yeah. But I didn't think it was like terrible. I was like, yeah. And I also am like, I did the same thing, so please don't accuse me of murder. Anyway, they didn't. Within days of her putting the book out and starting to try and promote it, she's arrested for murder. And this is where Mel and I come into the story, but not really.
yeah.
Um, it was May of 2023, so a year and a couple months afterwards. And Mel and I were on widow business in Amsterdam. And I happened to look at my phone and saw a news article. Children's grief book author accused of murder, something like that. So of course I clicked on it. And I clicked on it and it said Camas, Utah, which I was like, what? This is like right by us. And then I saw the name. And I was like, oh, this lady she be in the Widow Wives Club, guys. And that prompted a very interesting conversation between Mel and I about what our policy is on suspected murderers in the Widow Wives Club.
And I think that at that point, people in the Widow Wives Club were commenting, right? Or sending us messages. Because I remember we got some.
I think we did get a message or two from people, but I don't think it was widely known.
Like, I think from a few Utah widows.
Yeah, probably. And probably Karen, the other Karen from Canada, because she's a freaking FBI agent. Hi, Karen Merrick.
Hi.
This was the thing, though. They're innocent until proven guilty. So at what point in time do we excommunicate people from the Widow Wives Club if they're
If they're being accused, but
suspected of
nothing's.
murder? Yeah, we had quite a robust discussion about it. And I was like, never did I think that this was going to be something we had to decide on.
Do you remember if she tried to promote her book in the Widow Wives Club?
I don't think she did. And I think she might have said it in her, because I'm the one who let her into the Widow Wives Club. And I think that she had said it in her like little biographical information,
Mm-hmm.
which there's not a question for that, but I think it was in there. And that's why it like jogged my memory that she was in there. But no, I don't even think she had even posted, maybe once or twice, but she wasn't like a big part of the scene, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I remember her name because her name, the spelling of her name is unique for the name Kouri. It's Kouri. So it was something I recognized.
Yes. And I think we were with Aaron from Australia at that time. And we also saw Eric from Amsterdam and we asked them their opinions too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to know from our listeners right now, like what should the policy be?
Yeah.
I'm
And
dying.
what did we end up doing? We were kind of trying to find out some facts as much as we could, right? But then we just hung with it for a while.
So it's kind of funny because that's why we ended up like interested in the story because I'm like, well, I wonder how like how good is the evidence? Is it like seem pretty slam dunk, or is it like meh? What we decided to do in the end was we suspended her. So we didn't kick her out all the way, but she couldn't, I don't know I think you can't post or comment. I think you can still see stuff maybe if you're suspended, but then it all turned out to be a moot point because her defense team scrubbed all of her social media. So her Facebook account didn't even exist
Mm-hmm.
after a few days. So anyway,
Okay.
okay, well, tell us what you think our policy should be if this happens again, which please bless that it doesn't.
Yes, hopefully. And like, what if you're wrongly accused? There's
I
that.
know, because we've had people who that's happened to, and that's got to be like the worst experience ever. Your person dies, everybody thinks that you did it, you're incarcerated, and even the Widows Club won't let you be in there. Like, you are so alone.
Hey, maybe Melissa Ponder Brackman can weigh in on this because she was accused. She was not arrested.
Yeah, she wasn't formally,
But yeah, but people,
but they
yeah.
thought, yeah, I think that's
Well, the cops thought too and were super not awesome. And then
yeah.
family and yeah. Melissa, which I'm assuming is going to be through Joe. Let us know. Text us.
Okay. So she's arrested, she's indicted, arraigned, all of those things, and they do a pretty thorough, like, this is our case, and the judge says, you're going to stay in prison, jail. You're going to stay in jail until your trial. So during that time, she has a medical emergency and she has to be taken to the hospital. So when that happens, what do? The prison guards, they search your cell. And when they searched her cell, they found a bundle of papers. And on the outside of the papers, it said attorney-client privilege. And so what did the guards do?
Read it.
Yeah, of course. They're like, you can't just be like, time out, like no take backs,
Mm-hmm.
So they open this letter and it is wild, Mel. It's also available online.
What is it in that whole document collection of documents?
It's just on the internet. On the top of the note, it's 6 pages and it's got big letters that say walk the dog! Exclamation point, exclamation point. And then it says, but take vague notes so you remember.
Huh.
Okay. So then she goes on to say, and I'm going to sum up, I'm not going to read it word for word, that her brother Ronnie needs to make sure that he understands that when they went to Mexico, Eric tried to buy drugs off of the street, and that he thus setting it up for Eric to, it wouldn't have been out of character for him to have gotten illicit drugs from somewhere. Okay. But at one point in time, so she lays out this whole story, and then she says, you can use your own words, but you need to make sure all of these points are hit if you have to testify, feeding them a story. So they're all getting on the same story about this incident in Mexico. And that's called witness tampering. Like, you can't tell people what they're going to testify to. And she doesn't help herself.
Is it witness tampering if the document never made it to the intended person?
So that's what her attorney argued, that it never made it to them to tamper. This is one of the things she says. Reword this however he needs to make the point. Just include it all. The connection has to be made with Mexico and drugs. Ronnie will have the messages to prove Eric confided in him about getting high. It can be short and to the point, but it has to be done. Upon information and belief, LOL. They never found pain pills or fentanyl in my house because he hid it in an allergy bottle in his work truck. And Cody emptied out the work truck within a week, so they were never found. When you talk to Ronnie about this, meet up with him in person. I worry sometimes your house and phone are bugged. Maybe drive down to Salt Lake and meet him after work without Bree Sky has to be, I can't read that, has to be made the connection between Eric and Mexico because that makes the most sense in her mind. If it's Ronnie's information and belief about the conversation over football, she can use that as a connection. Tell Ronnie, tell Ronnie, don't overanalyze it. Anyway,
Hmm. Okay.
so the family says, and the defense says, hey, this doesn't count because it never got to us. However, the prosecution believes that like they can't send, I guess, letters from jail. So they think that she held it up for them to read in one of their in-person visits. And the walk the dog was supposed to be like to trick them into thinking it was just about like normal stuff. I
Hmm.
don't know. I mean, they can't prove that that's how she did it either, I don't think. However, her response to this is not doing her any favors. She says, oh, guys, I'm writing a book and this is for the book. And the book is fiction. Just because everybody's names and the situation is the same, it's a novel that I'm writing. And so
Oh, so is that kind of like OJ's if I had done this? If I did do
I
this?
mean, sort of, but I'm like, that's the worst excuse. You can't just pretend that you're writing a novel. It looks bad. It doesn't look great.
Okay.
Ugh. Anyway, the judge did strike a few of the pieces of that letter, so it couldn't go into court because part of it was like what the attorneys had decided would be her strategy. So that was attorney-client privilege, but there's been several motions to not let that enter, and that it was like prejudicial, and all of these different things. And her case has actually um, gone to the Utah Supreme Court, and they wanted to move it to a different jurisdiction. They didn't think she could get a fair trial in the small community that she lives in, but ultimately they denied those, and she is going to have her trial in February of 2026.
So it looks like it's going to be a 5-week trial.
Yeah. But Mel, there's one twist at the end of all of this that is, again, just like, what in the world? So remember who Kouri called before she called 911?
Her mom.
Her mom.
Yeah.
In 2006, her mom was in a short-lived relationship with a woman, and that woman died of an overdose of opioids just a short time after she had changed all of her life insurance policies to Kouri's mom.
Okay.
And that is also not a terrific look. The family's just like, yeah, there's the opioid epidemic, and it's not that weird. And it's also not that weird that she changed her life insurance policies to this woman that they'd just been in a short relationship with. I mean, that's fine too.
Okay. So was that ever addressed like by prosecutors or the police?
No, because the girlfriend had been cremated. So they can't
It's convenient.
they can't go back. And Kouri also allegedly tried to get Eric cremated very quickly. And the family was like, pump the brakes. He's going to have an autopsy. And she was like, no, let's get him cremated. But
Wow.
yeah.
I wonder if in his living will it said anything about how he wanted his body to be laid to rest, if he wanted it buried or anything. And I guess the sister would have access to that, right? Because she was
Yeah.
on any of the things that you read or watched. Did the family members of Eric say anything, or did they show up for interviews and things like?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They've been very,
They've been a part and included in these stories, so they're not just bypassed.
yeah. I mean, they've been very present in all of the court proceedings too. And they have like, I think that they're actually from Bountiful, Mel.
Oh,
Um,
there you go.
they
That's by us.
were a fairly well-to-do family and like well-known in their community, and they have a pretty highly paid lawyer and as a spokesman. So they've done a pretty good job of like advocating for him, I would say. But so has her family. And the saddest part about all of this is their three kids. Like, ugh, their dad died, their mom's in jail, maybe is gonna go to prison forever. Did she kill him? Did she not? They are with Eric's family, but Kouri's family has been trying to get custody. Just like, and please don't do that either. Please don't fight over the kids. Like, that is not helpful for them when they've already been through like such a terrible situation in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is where I think they're going to have a hard time. In order to prove that she murdered him, they have to prove that she's the one who gave him the fentanyl. And as far as I know, they don't have any physical evidence that the way he ingested it was in the drink that she made for him, or if it was a different way. Like they could argue all day and all night that he took something, and there's no way to prove or disprove that, I don't think. So it's
Wow.
all circumstantial.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot of circumstances surrounding it, like a lot of weird things that are not great,
Well, and a
but
lot of cases can be proven with only circumstantial
yeah.
evidence.
Yeah, but
So,
that's like the little link that's like, that's going to be really hard to prove. And I don't think you're going to be able to prove that. And so I could see that people would say without that, like, she could be a terrible wife and cheating and all of these things, but he cheated too. And, this was just a business. Like, people having all this loans is normal for people in that kind of work. And so I don't
so
know.
as far as things like if they're trying to discredit Eric
Hmm.
in court, I guess would they have to wait till trial and present things? Because one thing that I learned during the court that proceedings that I was involved with is that there are different motions that attorneys file.
Hmm.
And I don't know anything about specifically what they are. I just know that they can be filed, and that means certain kinds of things can or cannot be entered into evidence.
Oh, they've gone through a
Or
lot
like
of
a
those.
witness, like say you hire an expert witness,
Hmm.
a motion can be filed that says this expert witness is not allowed to testify to
Right.
what the speculate for the truthfulness or not of the victim
Yeah.
or whatever, but they can
Yeah.
only talk to that. So I'm wondering, yeah, trials. Wow. I do not envy Eric's family, and I'm so sorry for anybody that has to go through a trial. And I don't know Kouri, but that's a lot of stress. And I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything speculative on anything because I'm not in it, but that's a lot.
Yeah. There have been a lot of those types of motions, Mel, but I'm sure there will be more as it gets closer to. And the interesting thing is in a lot of the what do they call them? Hearings, they've been like mini trials. Like the state has produced a lot of evidence in those trials, which I don't know if that's normal or not. I feel like it was a lot of stuff that's publicly available that I don't know if it's always like that in trials. I mean, obviously we're not a true crime podcast because we don't know.
No, I feel like we need to be a legal podcast
No, we're not smart
because even
enough.
like true crime podcast, yeah, you need like a legal analyst and a consultant. Hey, you could ask your brother-in-law. He's a defense attorney.
He would be like, no. My sister-in-law is also a defense attorney, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah,
Great.
I've got all the defenses. Also of note is that Kouri's legal team quit about a year into her defense, I think. And because she didn't have no money no more.
Ah,
So they said it wasn't because of that, but I don't know. They said it was irreconcilable
well, it
differences,
could be
whatever that
money, or
means.
they're like, you did it, and we can't.
Yeah, but
We
people
in our
defend
hearts.
people.
Yeah,
That's what
that's true.
defense attorneys do. They don't not defend you because you're guilty.
That's
Like,
true. But
yeah,
sometimes,
I guess that's true. Yeah,
sometimes,
maybe.
every once in a while, you hear of a defense attorney that's like, I just can't take this case anymore. Nope, you can't.
Yeah, maybe. I
But
don't know.
maybe money. I don't know.
Okay, so you guys, number one, how did you like our true crime crossover? And number two, what should our criteria be for the Widow Wives Club in case this ever happens again? And number three, what do you think? Answer those questions. Tell us what you think.
And number four, Since Eric is no longer with us and he has no say about anything that did or did not happen, guess what's online? His obituary. We're going to read it for
Yes.
you because it's not okay that he had died because it sounds like it was before his time. I'm going to leave out the names of people in his family, so I'll just say parents and children. Okay.
Sounds good.
Eric Eugene Richins made his last extravagant and largely unexpected gesture on March 4th, 2022, signing off on a life, in his own words, quote, to live to the fullest and with few regrets. God certainly perfected the mold when Eric was born to his parents on May 13th, 1982, in Bountiful, Utah. Eric's world revolved around his family, his love for hunting, the family cattle ranch, and his insane drive as a successful entrepreneur. Being born into the Richins legacy shaped Eric's formative years and resulted in a lifetime of hard work, dedication, and fierce loyalty. Being the eldest was a dubious task, but he was up for the challenge and led and loved his sisters fiercely. At an early age, Eric learned the joys of keeping horses and cows around. He spent countless hours helping his dad work the ranch, hauling hay, feeding the animals, and mending fences. He loved his family unconditionally and was a devoted son, brother, and uncle. Eric was a family man who always strove to be the absolute best father and husband. He was an attentive and loving father to his 3 sons and a devoted husband to the love of his life and wife of 9 years. Eric did absolutely everything in his power to provide his family with every possible opportunity to learn, grow, and have fun. Growing up, Eric was a serious athlete and loved all sports, whether it was watching them or playing them. He was involved in cross country, basketball, baseball, and soccer. He was also the coach or assistant coach on all his boys' teams. He spent countless hours coaching and teaching the boys to, quote, play aggressive and give it their all. Eric truly cared about every single child he coached and wanted the absolute best for all of them. Eric was an avid outdoorsman and dedicated hunter. He was an excellent archer and marksman and had multiple trophy animals from all around the world, including Africa, Mexico, Canada, and the United States. There was never a dull moment when you were around Eric. Whether it be him showing up to a family dinner with no socks or sleeves on his shirt because he had to make an emergency bathroom stop along the way, or his calling to tell you he rolled the 4-wheeler for the umpteenth time, is stuck and needs you to come get him. Eric loved to have fun and was always the life of the party. He owned almost every motorized toy possible, from 4-wheelers and side-by-sides to trucks and snowmobiles. Because of this, he of course holds the Richins family record for most rolls and collisions of motorized vehicles, as well as most stitches received from a single incident. 200 on his face, to be exact.
Whoa.
Holy cow. Eric was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He served a 2-year mission in Mexico City, where he learned to speak Spanish fluently. He received a bachelor's degree from the University of Utah in International Studies with a minor in Spanish. Together, Eric's mission and his education truly shaped his business acumen. He had the perfect combination of business sense and foresight. He built a very successful masonry business from the ground up and helped many friends do the same. He had a special ability to build close relationships with everyone he worked with, which really allowed his business to thrive. Eric loved every aspect of his job, but most of all, he loved the people he worked for and those he worked with. Eric faithfully supported organizations that he truly believed in. He never was one that wanted recognition or accolades. He did most things anonymously and without recognition. Eric was a true champion of all people. It did not matter if you were an employee, family, friend, or the next random person walking down the street. If you needed anything, you could count on him. He truly cared about each person he met. He was always trying to help people find better situations in work and in life. Eric made sure to set time aside to do what he loved most and to make sure everyone around him did the same. Eric loved fully, laughed loudly, and lived life with reckless abandon. He enjoyed great adventures to far-off places, but also cherished the small and finer things in life, like his Under Armour sweatsuits and spending time with his family and friends. No obstacle was too great for Rico. He simply viewed each one as a challenge. No peaks were too high, and the next adventure was always just around the next bend. Words can't describe the loneliness and loss that is felt in every heart that was lucky enough to know him. We all need to learn from Eric's example and be sure to make the time to have fun and do what we love. Thank you, Rico, for being such an inspiration and role model for us all. We love you, Eric, with all our hearts and more. And then it says who he was preceded in death by and who he has survived by and information about the service. And this was from 2022.
Yep. March 10th. Yeah.
May 82 to March of 2022. Sorry, Eric, and Eric's family and everybody who is feeling the loss of Eric. And what a situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there you have it.
I know. And Keith Morrison, call us if you want to talk to us about our excellent true crime podcast.
True. You might want to just talk to Anita since she has researched.
But you're the color, Mel.
I am the color. I'll just sit next to you and look colorful.
And you'll go, my.
Okay. Well, like Anita said, let us know what you think our policy should be in the Widow Wives Club if you're in there. And if you're not in there, join it and then you can have a say.
Yep.
How do they do that?
Oh, they can join the Widow Wives Club on Facebook. And also, if you want to check out our Patreon, it's patreon.com/WWDN.
It helps us keep the podcast going so that we can pay for nuts and bolts and things of the sort. To keep
it said nuts. I was like, do we have nuts?
We could
cashews.
Get some, chocolate covered almonds.
Yeah. Macadamias.
Those are pretty good too. Yeah. So if you would like to donate, that would be lovely. Patreon.com/WWDN or buy us tacos at buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonoww.
And we always like a nice rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And until we get to talk to you again, where we will be back to our normal widow podcast. I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
We're just two young widows, not true crime podcasters, who are trying to figure out widow
we
do
meow.
Mel.
Yeah.
We have a major announcement to make.
Go for it.
Did you know that right now all plans on Mint Mobile are what?
$15 a month.
Okay, that's truly ridiculous. Do you know how much regular cell phones are?
Yep.
$1 bazillion a month. 15 is less than that.
New customers get 3 months of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month if you sign up right now. And guess what? I use it. I love it. I've used it all over the country, all over the world, and it's great. And if you're wondering about phones, they have those available as well, or you can just port your own number and your current phone over to Mint Mobile. They make it so easy.
So if people are interested in trying out Mint Mobile, how can they go about doing that?
Go to trymintmobile.com/WWDN. And you know, it's interesting. When my dad died, we actually put his phone on a Mint Mobile plan because it kept his number going, but it was $15 a month. So there you go. And there's different storage plans, but you might as well just get the unlimited because it's $15 a month.
Absolutely. All right, go try it today.
That's trymintmobile.com/WWDN.